The reasons why people dive can vary greatly from diver to diver, and what may seem obvious to someone may not even have been considered by someone else. It is not uncommon that people who had never thought about becoming divers find themselves involved in it, almost by accident, for no real reason, or even pushed by friends or relatives. Often, even without any analysis of what one is about to do entails. That said, the possible consequences of starting diving without any awareness of what lies ahead can lead us to make systematic technical mistakes, as well as systematic mistakes in dealing with the stress. We might drag these problems for our entire diving career, dive after dive, greatly affecting the fun and the personal satisfaction we can gain from it. To make sure you are not a victim of this misunderstanding, you should answer this question: is scuba diving a sport? What do you think about that? What is your answer? Probably, to such a direct question, most divers would answer that diving is not a sport. But in reality, many inexperienced divers, even among those who would answer no, behave as if they were playing a sport. Whether we are conscious of it or not, this mindset can only lead to problems that can be summarized as an overly physical interpretation of diving, based on strength and speed, elements common to almost all sports. Divers who fall victim to this misinterpretation tend to move too much and too fast, with direct effects on breathing, on our ability to better manage buoyancy, on our ability to advance through the water, and finally, on the stress level that certainly we all have to manage in each of our dives. This predisposition for speed and competition is so ingrained in us that in doubt, you may be putting it into practice, even while diving, and even unknowingly. Even before some eventual technical mistakes, there is a wrong mindset that could preclude any improvement.
But if diving is not a sport, then what is it? Diving is an adventure, and even if some of us are at a more extreme level, and some at a lighter level, we are all adventurers and explorers. A diver is much more like an alpinist than a swimmer. In an adventure like diving, speed and strength are options to be used only when needed and when they become functional for our goals. And indeed, adventurers and athletes act differently, guided by different characteristics, to achieve different goals. And like any adventure, diving also involves risks and dangers. And even more, diving also has in it all those fears automatically and primordially associated with water. Well before any potentially dangerous animals, or decompression accidents, or more. It is precisely the one irreplaceable and indispensable element of our activity that could become a hard obstacle. Salty, or fresh. By day, or by night. On a vertical wall, or a horizontal plateau. Active, looking for something specific. Or passive, taking what comes along. Searching for animals, or a wreck. And even, in groups, or alone. Everything can change, except the certain presence of water. In the same way that water is often used as a metaphor for life and rebirth, for joy, happiness, and cheerfulness, it is equally used to evoke the deepest fears of the human being. Fear and stress are inescapable elements of underwater activity, because they are inescapable from the water itself, the playground we have chosen for ourselves. Different divers may have different reasons for diving, and while we may personally approve and understand some of them, we may certainly disapprove or not understand others. Certain reasons help us prevent or solve problems more than others, and placed in front of those situations that are particularly stressful for us, only certain reasons will allow us to overcome them.
A simple breakdown of the problems we might face in diving could be this: technical problems, and problems related to the stress that inevitably affects us in each of our dive. The two problems might be unrelated to each other, but also related. The order in which they occur may vary. Each type of error may increase itself and increase the other. To overcome technical mistakes, we need to master the necessary technique. We need to know the theory behind it. It is that simple. For example, to clear a mask of water, we need to know what procedure to apply. On the other hand, to overcome stress-related problems, we have to be sufficiently motivated. We have to dive for a reason that motivates us enough to deal with what we don't like to face. As much as everyone may have unquestionable motivations to overcome stress, fear, and difficulties, or face even potential dangers, we need sufficiently strong motivation. Great motivations were always the basis of the greatest achievements of human beings. Sometimes, great personal philosophical motivations are joined by great motivations of convenience. For example, moon exploration. When the great motivations of convenience of a president met the great philosophical motivations of people willing to overcome their physical and knowledge limits, challenging what was believed as impossible, the result changed the lives of the whole of humankind.
In recreational diving, we could identify these two extremes with, on one hand, the strongest of the motivations of convenience, that is the status game, and on the other hand, the strongest of the philosophical motivations, that is the first principle. A status game is a battle to have superiority over the other person. Status games are played to feed personal ego. There are divers who started diving because of the social prestige involved. As mentioned earlier, diving is seen by non-divers as an extreme activity, and practicing it automatically makes the diver an extreme and socially noteworthy character. All this may happen consciously, but it may also happen that the diver is only partially aware, or completely unaware of it. A first principle is a foundational proposition, or assumption, that stands alone. It doesn't need to be proven. In diving, we have gone from an activity for the brave few to an activity for everyone, regardless of personal predispositions. For years, the main aspect that has been promoted and used to motivate people to start diving is the social aspect. Diving is for everyone. We are all friends, and we are one big family. Of course, all accompanied by many smiles. We are not here to judge the reasons why others dive. And in an activity where a classic dive day lasts about 7 or 8 hours, during which we spend probably less than 2 hours underwater, it is obvious that the social side may also matter. That said, we believe that the first principle in diving is diving and nothing else. The reason why we dive should be precisely what we can search, see, and feel during our dives, and the rest should come after. The magnificence of what we can experience only down there should be what stimulates and guides us. If the status game places the player himself as the goal, by fixing diving itself as the first principle, completely shifts the focus and makes diving the true and only goal. An undisputed and common goal for all of us. It is from this greatness that should spring those so strong motivations that we need to overcome any obstacles encountered along the way. It doesn't matter if we started diving driven by wrong or non-existent motivation. This may at most have affected our careers to date. What matters is our current motivation, which will affect our future diving career.
The world of sports, including both the professional and the amateur one, is considerably larger than the world of diving and adventure in general. More participants mean a larger turnover, attracting professionals of various kinds, eager to contribute. And other sectors of society have also produced a wealth of potentially useful information. We can sift through all this information, analyze it, and keep the ones that may be useful to us. The Dr. Terry Orlick, a world-renowned leader in the applied fields of sports psychology and mental training, and author of In Pursuit of Excellence, has supervised and helped many athletes in various disciplines. Even if this is only the tip of the iceberg, it is interesting to note that a professional of so high level, and athletes accustomed to competing at the highest world level, support the idea that great human accomplishments begin with some kind of vision or dream, and that dreams precede reality. A vision, or a dream, it's our why. The reason who pushes us to dive. In some cases, motivation can find benefit from having a why of our own. Something more specific than just the idea that diving is something special. Whether our why is to meet dolphins, to reach a wreck, or to learn a specific procedure, being able to define our why will help us. We can have multiple whys, just as we can also have temporary whys, to be replaced once satisfied, or to be replaced when we discover more exciting ones. We may also have unattainable why. Everyone would love to cross the world in search of whales, seals, sharks, spectacular caves, or whatever. But not everyone will be able to do so. They can, however, help us on our journey by providing the necessary motivation. The presence of a clear and definite why may not be of much help to those divers who have no problems to solve. But the absence of a clear why might instead undermine the achievements of those with problems.
Thank you for watching this video, and take a look at its description for the link to the next episode of this series.